I'm Rick Erickson. I teach chemistry and physics and physical science at Bayfield High School. I also teach a class that we call Advanced Science Topics, where kids work on research projects and other projects like Rube Goldberg and toothpick bridges, and so it's a project-based class. So I've been teaching in Bayfield for 16 years. I've been a teacher for 25. I taught in Minnesota for 9 years prior to coming here, and I've really enjoyed being in Bayfield. Great place to teach. I've been very fortunate to have several projects funded by the Bayfield Community Education Foundation. It's been a great opportunity to do things in the classroom that the typical funding in the school probably wouldn't allow. Usually when I write grants to the foundation, what I'm trying to do is trying to find something that's unique, that's out of the ordinary, but something that really will enhance either the classroom or enhance a student research project. So for example, some of the projects have been, or currently, we're working on a project that involves monitoring the water quality near eagle nesting sites in the Apostle Islands. It's a very cool project. It's an opportunity to work with the Apostle Islands National Lakeshore researchers, and an opportunity for our kids to do science that's more than the typical 45-minute recipe style science experiment. So rather than doing an experiment where they're simply following instructions and getting results, I have students who we go out and we collect data in the field. We analyze that data, we compare it to some of the data that the park researchers have. And for example, in the Eagle project, what we're looking for is we're looking for indicators that will help the national park researchers with their mercury research. There's a park researcher who's analyzing how much mercury is in eagle nestlings every year, and the project is very expensive. And he tries to get funding every year, but there are some years he doesn't get funding, so he can't run it. And what he's interested in is, are there other indicators he could use, so on the years when he's not able to do this research, are there other indicators he could use that would still allow him to continue his research just with different data? So the chemistry class in Bayfield has adopted this project, and so what we do is every year we go out and we collect data on dissolved organic carbons and pH, and we're trying to find out if those two variables match the level of mercury found in the eaglets, so that we can use those as an indicator of indicator chemicals as to how much mercury is in the eagles. The BCEF has helped with that project. The tests for the dissolved organic carbons are tests that we can't do at the school here. We have to send them out, and so the BCEF has provided funding for us to have those tests run and then get the results back. So we do it as a chemistry class project, but then we also use it as a science research project where I have a couple of individual students who take it a step further, and then they do competitive research projects, and they write competitive papers, and then we go to science fairs and science symposium, and these students then, the first time that project will be used in competition will be this year. And there have been 2 students who've been working on this now for 2 years, and they'll now use that data and compete in a science fair. If they do well, they'll advance to hopefully the International Science Fair, which this year is in Los Angeles, and they'll compete against kids from around the world with their project. Another project, I think you're going to see there's a common thread in a lot of these projects. We try to do projects that are based on local issues. So we try to use Lake Superior as much as we can. I mean, it's a great classroom, it's a great lab setting, so it'd be kind of a waste to not use that facility. So the other project that we've been doing recently that has been funded by the BCEF is a project to monitor the seiche in Lake Superior and the currents in Lake Superior. The seiche is like a tide. Everybody's familiar with the ocean tides. The ocean tides are driven by the moon and gravitational pull of the moon. And the Great Lakes don't have that. There are miniature tides, but they're not even measurable. But the lakes do have this property called the seiche, and the seiche behaves like a tide, where it's a rise and fall of the lake water, but it's not driven by the moon's gravitational pull. It's driven by weather patterns. If there's a high winds or high pressure system coming in, it can drive water from one end of the lake to the other end of the lake, and then the lake settles into this sloshing pattern of a back and forth rise and fall. So it acts like a high tide, low tide. But nobody in Bayfield has ever really measured. People know it's there, but nobody's ever really measured what is it typically. So we got funding from the BCEF to get equipment that would allow us to monitor the SAISH. And last year had a student who monitored it over about a 6-month period of time and found out that the standard SAISH in Bayfield is it's only about a 10-centimeter rise and fall, and that happens every 8 hours. So every 8 hours our water here in Bayfield goes down about 10 centimeters and then comes back up 10 centimeters, and then every 8 hours it follows that same pattern. If there's a big weather system, big pressure, big wind difference, since we've been monitoring it, the biggest one we've seen is a SAISH of about 30 centimeters. So we've seen a rise and fall of about 30 centimeters over a time period of about 20 hours. And we were able to measure that because of the equipment that we picked up from the Bayfield Community Education Foundation. Now this year we've added to that. There's a young woman who's doing that, who's adding the current monitoring, wants to know how do SAISHs affect the currents around the Apostle Islands. Again, there's anecdotal information from fishermen and other people who are on the water a lot about these currents that exist in Lake Superior and the Apostle Islands. And what she's going to look at is, does the SAISH affect these currents? So we picked up some equipment from the foundation again. This will allow us to measure the currents that exist in the Apostle Islands, and then we'll be able to coordinate that with the SAISH information to find out if the SAISH has an effect on the currents in Lake Superior. And again, this is a project that we'll adopt as a classroom project, but in this situation, this young woman will also take that a step further and use it as a competitive research project and compete against people from around the country with it. So those are two of the projects that we're currently working on. They're focused on Lake Superior, and the foundation has given me the opportunity to do that in a more thorough way than I would have been able to without it. You know, the school has been great in supporting. They support innovative ideas. They support getting out and using outdoor classrooms as opposed to staying here. But sometimes the school is limited on funding, and so the foundation is a great resource in our community to help to add those little extra pieces that wouldn't be available if they weren't here. So I appreciate the foundation tremendously. So I have a great appreciation for the foundation. They're an excellent organization. I like what their goals are. Their mission is an excellent mission. The people that are on the foundation care about the education that happens in Bayfield. They care about the kids, and they care about the kids getting the best education they can. And their contributions have just been phenomenal. They've given us the opportunity to do things we wouldn't normally do. They've given students the opportunity to compete against other students from around the country, and to see that our students are just as capable as students everywhere, which is a great opportunity for our kids to recognize that, hey, I can compete with kids from all around the country, and in fact I can compete with kids from around the world. You know, we've had kids go to the International Science Fair and place 3rd or 4th at the International Science Fair, partly because of the opportunities that have been provided by the foundation. So, you know, it's a great organization. Thank you to the foundation for all you've done, and hopefully it'll continue and keep giving kids those opportunities.